everybody. So because I really love cars, last Sunday I went to a car exhibition again here. But this car exhibition is very different here. It only exhibits the old wagon, when we say the classic wagons here, by Volvo, which is 老瓦罐车站 here. And here are the car models that they have displayed here. So I took my camera, I took a lot of photos, and of course, I've made a lot of new friends there who told me a lot of things about wagons there. So I decided to research more by myself there and know what is actually a wagon, because that is my first time actually seeing a wagon there. So in this video, I'm going to talk about these 5 things here. The first one is what is a wagon, and it's little history as well. And wagon in Chinese is wagon. And then the second one is the wagon versus a van versus estate, and what is actually a van and estate. And then the third one, we're going to talk about the speciality of Volvo. Before we talk about the Volvo model, we have to first know a little bit of Volvo company, which is a Swedish car company. And then the fourth one, we're going to talk about a very famous model, which is the Volvo P1800 ES. They also have other models such as the P1800E, P1800S there. And I'm going to tell you the differences and also what do they actually mean here, like E, what does it stand for, and S, what does it stand for there. So first of all, before I got into what is actually a classic wagon, we have to first know what is a wagon here. So wagon has 2 meanings here, just as wagon here. This wagon can either mean a historical horse-drawn or animal-drawn, this kind of wagon thing or little thing, or it either can mean a modern from like 1910 to 1920, about this era where it started to be car body style here. So from the most history, it's going to be a horse-drawn wagon here. So this horse-drawn wagon, the first one ever built was in 3 BC, 3 before Christ here. So we can see this image in a museum, that's why as the 3 BC Mesopotamia here, that they have built the first wagon. And here, because at that time we don't have anything, we have like the ox with the animals that are going to pull this wagon. And then from that on, we're going to have like in the 1920s, we still have this kind of huge wagons there. Like they're going to have a lot of horses going to pull it here. So this is called freight wagons. They're going to pull a lot of flowers, for example, here. And then this one is also the same freight wagons here. It's going to have 2 horses to pull them as well here. So that's one meaning of wagon there. And then how wagon actually started, just this part in which this man is sitting, this part with the 4 wheels here. And that's called wagon, to put goods inside the little cart there. And you might be thinking here, hey, this looks like a carriage here. Well, a wagon and a carriage is different. The first thing that we have to know is that a carriage and a wagon is different here. So if I draw it, it's going to be wagon is for goods, or we say agricultural stuff. While as carriage is for people here. So wagon does not carry people, usually does not carry people, and carriage does not carry goods here. So we can see that wagon only carries this kind of agricultural goods and carriage only carries people. But the common thing in total is that they're all drawn by animals. So they are all powered by animals here, like the 2 horses or sheep, other ones here. There are even sheep that I found on Wikipedia, a photo of them as well there. So this is the same for horse-drawn there. And when does it start to transition to, like we say, more than like day here? So it is from the 1910s to 1920s. From this era, they're going to transition to the modern car body style here. So what do we mean by car body? It's something that has a roof here, like a car, because at that time we already invented the first car in human history, and then we also have the steam train here. So at that time, we already have this kind of roof here. So the thing with a roof is a little bit like this. This have a roof. Not like this. This has no roof. That means that we can put unlimited goods inside of them here. Well, this has a roof. That means that we can only sit, like, for example, 4 people inside of them as well here. So we can see that this is what we call a car body here. So wagon, we will mix up these two, right? So for the second definition here, we are very smart. We call them station wagons to avoid mixing up. So we call them station wagons. Even to this day, 2026, to this day, we still call them station wagons. But when we say daily, then we just omit the station. We only say it as wagon. But you have to know that the whole name for it is station wagons here. Why? Because at that time, its purpose is to carry people from the station. Because at that time we have the railway trains. So its purpose to carry people from the station, which has the train station, to the hotels, together with the luggage. So this is its purpose, and we wanted to have a car that can handle the luggage as well here. So they started modifying it. So they took a normal, this kind of sedan, or this kind of normal cars there, and then they add a little bit of tail. So that means that from this, it changed to this. If we extend this a little bit here, like this. So we extend them more so that we can have more cargo space. Well, we say luggage space here. See? So this part is for our luggage here. And they also can sit people instead of them here. So the reason why wagon is that special is because that it's not this kind of very rugged off-roaders here, but it still has this kind of sedan, very comfort and luxury kind of style, but also adding the luxury capacity. That means that we can fit more things with it without losing the comfort of driving it as well here. And this wagon, from the early days, the first of these kind of station wagons was made by this. This is the Rolls-Royce station wagon there. And this one is created around 1910s here. So this is like what they consider as the first station wagon as well here. So now we know what does a station wagon mean, because nowadays what I attended is actually called, if we translate it properly, it's going to be a classic station wagon car exhibition here. That's what we can translate it properly here. So now we know what is a station wagon. Now let's jump into the classic station wagon properly. We say it properly there. So for a classic station wagon here, we can see here. This is the page that I prepared as well here. So we say it as classic. We add the station to make it more properly. But normally nowadays we can just say it as station wagons, but no, classic wagons. But it's better that we add a station instead of them here. So this will be a classic station wagon. But we can also say it as old station wagons. But that's what it seems that it's going to be like rusted there. So we say as 老瓦罐 here. And then it usually refers to this period. So we can see that this is from the late 20th, very late, to the early 21st. So this is what we are referring to if we call it as a classic wagons here, classic station wagons here. And then we have a specific area for these wagons as well here. We are talking about European models here, just like the Volvo. I'm not just saying that there's only Volvo, this kind of company who makes it. There's also from Germany like Mercedes-Benz, who also makes like the worldwide known famous wagons here. But for the car exhibition, we're going to take as an example like Volvo, which is from Sweden here, that makes one of the most famous recognizable wagons, which is the Volvo 240 as well here. So when people say classic station wagons, this is what they're going to think, like around like Volvo 240, which is produced around this things, which is produced like from 1990s as well here. Or we can think of other companies who produce it as well, just like as I said, to Benz here. So now we know that the station wagons here. Now let's look at some bullet points that it must achieve there. So now we can see that for the classic station wagon, it needs to have these 5 things here. These are what I actually saw from the things there. So first of all, it needs to be like a flat roof style, very boxy style here. So like a box here. We often go like this thing here, like very flat roof. Like for example, I just take an example like the Volvo 240, which is a very flat roof here. And then it has a lot of simpler mechanical systems. It does not have this kind of screens there. And it's very simpler. The engine of it is very simple, but it's very reliable. That means that it can run for a lot of years without even breaking down there. So that's like in the past, we can all manufacture these, which like a very reliable wagon or cars there that will never break down. So that means that if you have a Volvo P1800ES from the last decade and you still drive it regularly, that means that you can still drive it without any problems there, but you have to just maintain it regularly here. And it has more mechanical feedback as well, because of course at that time we don't have this kind of like anti-shock system, but we do have this kind of suspension system there. So we only have it there, but the wagon here, because it is much more higher than the sedan, it can still, sometimes if we need to, we can still go some off-roads here. So, but not those off-roads like the 4x4 or the SUV there, but still we can do some more than a sedan there. So for conclusion here, we talk about station wagon. So station wagon will have these 4 characteristics here that differ from other car styles here. The first, we talk about how to manufacture them, is that they are usually shared with the same sedan platform. What I mean by platform is that the base platform here, sometimes it is shared, usually it's shared with the sedan here, because of course we just need to move it back and then make it a little bit longer to have more cargo space here. And then next characteristics that almost all wagons have is that it extends all the way to the rear here. So that means that it's like this, the rear, where you open up the trunk here. And then the rear hatch, which is the trunk door, it opens upward. So it's going to open like this. And then the back seats can be folded to form a large flat cargo floor here. The back seat, we are now talking about the classical wagons, or the wagons nowadays have the second row. Nowadays, we have the third rows in the larger kind of wagons, but nowadays, usually it'll be the second row. We can fold it down to form a large flat cargo floor. It should be flat here, not like a sedan. In a sedan, we can also fold them, but it will not be flat as a wagon here. So that's how we can actually differentiate them as well here. So now we can do a little timeline of this word. I'm not talking about this like wagon kind of definition, but we're just going to talk about this little word, like how we got this word wagon here. So it became in the 2 before Christ, 2 BC, all the way to this kind of something, 500 before Christ. We have a word called, this kind of word. This is in Old German here. This is really a word here. And then after it evolved to in the Middle Ages. And in the Middle Ages, it evolved to this. This is really a word. It's not IPA, it's a word here. And then from the Middle Ages up until the animal scenes, the animal hauling period, which is the 1800s to 1910, about this period, we still have this word. So from this, it's considered as a normal, proper English word. And that's why it's how we refine it, how we write it today here. So there's like a little timeline of this word wagon as well here. So what things to remember is that first of all, we need to have like we can say a car base, because there's still a car based platform, and there needs to be a flat cargo space. And then another thing is that wagon has another name for wagon, because wagon is used in the US. Another name for it in the UK, which in English is the estate. ESTATE, estate. It means the same as a wagon here, with the roof all the way to the end here. And then the fourth one is that it can go a little bit of off-road there, and the roof should be flat, and they should extend all the way to where we open the trunk here. And at last here, it should not be confused with the van here that we're going to talk right now, like the confusion of the van. That's what I got the confusion here. So now we're going to talk about very deep comparison here. So first of all, we're going to look at one wagon and the van here. So what is actually a van and its differentiation with wagon here? So a van is actually only for cargo purposes here, or goods here. With it's basically this thing, a wagon with a little roof on the engine with 4 wheels here. So it's actually this with a roof and with an engine at the front to power it forward here, and a space for usually 2 persons there. So we're not going to look at like a van here, but we're just going to look at another, my favorite company, which is Mini here. This is the club van that Mini produced here. This is how we load it in. So we can see that it's very flat here. It's only for cargo things. It does not have any other. There's no second row here. So this is just a full flat cargo space that we can actually do it as well here. So we can see that here is a fully flat surface as well here, and we can see this man pulling up his goods to this club van here. This one, a Mini, has the speciality of these 2 doors opening in the opposite direction here. So that means that we open it like this way, so that we can have a wider angle and does not obstruct us to putting the goods here. It also makes it easy to open it. We just press 2 times at the 2 handle, and it automatically flings open. We don't need to get a lot of force and swing the door upwards like a lot of modern vans do here. So if we know what is this van here, we don't have a window here. That's why it's a metal panel here. See, it does not absorb any light because we don't need it here. This part is the window that the driver can actually do it there. So this is the van, and then we remember what is this van as well here. So in fact here, another thing that I forgot to talk about is that this thing also appears as a club man. It's not a club van, it's man, club man, which is our Mini. Yeah, but more of that in another episode here. So if we take a look at this very old estate, which means wagon here, as we talked about it here, this was in 1975. So we can see that this has replaced to a glass panel here. That means that there is a second thing here, and if we fold it down, we can see that it also resembles to our point the things of a flat cargo space. And also the roof is flat and it extends all the way to the trunk. And also, if you are wondering where the trunk is, it's still the iconic Mini doors that open on the 2 sides here, so that we can do it more easily here as well. Yeah. And just use Mini as an example. It's not all the cars just based on this here, but I just found it as things here, so I'm just going to use it as an example as well here. And then we can see that here, this is called barn door style here, but it opens like a barn door here. It's not only unique to Mini, I just say it is iconic there. So at that time, a lot of other manufacturers all do it because it's practical here. It saves us a lot of effort as well there. So we can see that if we back to the club van here, it also uses this kind of design here, so we can open it on the 2 sides like a barn door here. And the good thing about it is that Mini already gives you advice to make it as your shop floor. Then you can sell your things on this little platform there, because this is just for the cargo space here. Like we can put it into a flower shop, a little coffee cart there, because it already gives you a flat platform to put your table. This is like your table, your bar table there, so that we can put everything on top of it there. And another thing is that the club van and the mini estate is not on the same platform, because the club van needs to have more weight than the mini estate, because the club van needs to hold all of these cargo things here. So these two are not built on the same platform. The club van is already this kind of van style here. We will not classify it as a truck, but it's already much more stronger, and the steel and the metal used, the material used should be much more reliable as well. So before we continue on with the rest of this video here, I want to pause a little bit and talk about something that I forgot to talk about in the previous part here. So the thing that I forgot to talk about is that the mini estate also have the wooden trim option here, and just as you remember, the estate is the British word for station wagon here. And then what I want to say is that it has a wooden trim option here. So the wooden trim means that we can have a little piece of wood for decoration purposes only. It does not have this kind of like special design or this kind of aerodynamics thing here. It's just for decoration. It looks pretty good here. So we have this wooden trim option that we could use on, we could select on our mini estate here. So the images that I put up here is the 1962 version of the mini estate there. So we can see that this estate has the wooden trim option here. So don't get confused if you see a mini estate with some wood decorations on the back of it here, especially with the barn doors as well here. So now let's continue on with the rest of the video. And do we actually see this little detail here? At the beginning I told that this is a critical difference to the mini estate, but I did not tell you why here. And now I know why is that this, because if you think of it there, we can pile it up all the way to the ceiling, right? From here to here. And what happens if we are going on the highway, and then on the highway we suddenly brake there, and then if we have a 20 kilograms of food or a container just like here, then it's going to fly straight to your head like a missile there. So that's why it must be very strong, using other strong metals to create this kind of mesh fence here. So this is like the border between us. So if it ever lands there, it's going to be landing on the fence, not to the driver itself there. Nowadays, it's a safety standard here. Nowadays, it is used as one solid state of metal, but Mini chose to do it with little grids on top of it as well here. What I mean by that is that now modern days, we've just put it as one whole piece of steel here, not the steel mesh steel here. So that's why we call it as a mesh steel fence here. And then a little history of the van here, because I'm very curious of this van, is that in the van, it's still it's very interesting is that the van came from the same origin as the wagon. So because in the early days, the wagon is the only transport that we can get our food. So our food, our delivery, our clothes, everything should be transported. If anything that is not grown in this country, it must be exported from the other countries. So this was the only way that we can distribute it into this country here. And of course, this all started after there has the engine, after the first car was produced, and after the steam engine in the train was being invented here. So these came from the same origin, but they do go into different paths. One dedicated to cargo and luggage. One is the mixture of both. It can either become a van with cargo space, and it can also become like a little we cannot say like an SUV, but it could be a little traveler as well here. So to summarize the differences between them, we just need to get a few main points. Is that this can seat a second row of people, whereas this doesn't seat people at all. It only have the where the driver and co-driver sits here, but both have a flat surface for luggage as well here. And because I used mini for example here, they all have this kind of barn doors opening style as well here. And then the other thing that differentiates is that for cargo vans, they have this mesh fence in which that the estate does not have like naturally as well here. So these are the core differences that we can find between them and how to know which one is which. Also, this one is a steel metal panel because we don't need to make it as a glass here, and also glass is very fragile because if we put our goods here and we smash it to the right here, then it's going to break the windows, so it's very dangerous. So we change it into a metal panel here. Whereas this one is for using people, so we can still see the outside view as well here. And of course, this one we will not use it as a cargo van as well, just use it for cargo purposes as well here.